Thank you for being here at Unlock Church. My name is Scott Mendenhall. So glad to have you. I do think that's a great setup on the idea of, man, how many times do you ask somebody how you're doing, or you are asked that and you don't answer it truthfully? You just give it, oh, I'm great. Doing good. I'm on this side of the grave. And that's just a quick way to not truly answer how you are doing. And our hopes here at Unlock Church is that we create a community where you can tear down some of those guardrails that you have up, or those boundaries you kind of create from people, where you can really honestly share how you are doing. And there's so many great ways to do that, but get here early and hang out, get a cup of coffee, and do life with people. You're not designed to do life alone. So when you are asked how you're doing, I know sometimes it's not appropriate to just lay it all out like this is what's going on, because that's like way too intense, right? And people are like, whoa, I just wanted the fake answer, okay? Like everything's good. You got to know when the right time to really share how you are doing. But I hope today, we were praying this morning that God would meet you right where you are. He brought you here today because he's got something for you. He wants to speak to you right in your whatever it is for you. In a room this size, we got people here that got relationship problems, financial problems. We got people in here that have health problems. We got people that got future problems and past problems, and Jesus can meet you right where you are. And I don't just say that because I believe that. I got stuff going on. I got things I'm waiting for God to show up, and I'm saying, God, while I'm waiting, would you work on my heart? So I got patience, so I'm not screaming at you so much. And so it's just real. Like it's just the truth. And so we're kicking off a brand new series. You're like, well, you just started one last week. Yeah, it was just one and done. We're moving right along. If you want to know what Jesus has to say about politics, go on unlockchurch.com and watch last week's. We talk about politics and how, man, the church should be in the middle of all those conversations, and Jesus has a lot to say on it. So if you missed it, it's a great one to go watch and then share. Today we're kicking off a new one, and it's the Breaking Bad. It has nothing to do with the old TV show, but it's just a series about breaking bad, the bad habits, the bad thoughts, just the stuff that you're like, why are you chasing me all over the place? And today we're going to talk about success, breaking bad, and what do you deem is success? If we polled everyone, like everyone in this room today, we would have so many different variations of success, but a lot of it would have to do with possessions, degrees. It would be stuff. I mean, we live in Western culture, and Western culture through ads and promotions and just goals in life, it has to do with things. Ask any of my 8 children, well, at least 7 of them, they can talk. Ask them, they're going to talk about like stuff they want and that they're dreaming about possessing one day. Long ago, I stopped asking my kids, what do you want to do when you grow up? Because I just feel like that's sending them in the wrong, what do you want to do? Like, it's like, who do you want to be? We've changed it. Like, who do you want to be when you are older? Because that is what matters. What they do, it doesn't really matter. It's just, I know it does, but it doesn't really at the end of the day. And so we're going to talk about success. Some of you are like, why do you have a stuffed elephant up there? Because I couldn't get a real one. We tried. The school didn't want us to bring an elephant in. I don't know why. They said something about it wouldn't fit through a door. I was like, we're going to bring a little one, a baby elephant. You think I didn't try. One day we'll have elephant out in the front for some reason. Maybe at camp this year. You never know. Don't miss camp. But so an elephant, think about this. When elephants are literally like this size, when they are born and they are in zoo in captivity, they put a chain around an elephant's leg, and then they put a stake in the ground, not much bigger than this. Like it's just holding them in the ground. That's why we have an elephant right there, right? They've got a chain and they put it in the ground, and then as that's in the ground, it holds the elephant right there. And the little elephant will try as hard as it can to get off, right? And it can't. And by the time it gets that size, it no longer tries. Like when you look at the stake in the ground holding an elephant where he is or she is, it is very little. And if they knew, they could just pull it right out, but they stopped. They gave up because as a little guy, there's no point. I can't get out. I'm stuck. This is the way it will be. Every time I feel the chain around my leg, I know I can't run. I can't get away. And that, I think, is what's happened to a lot of us when it comes to a lot of bad habits, a lot of bad things in our lives, is that we believe we're just this. This is the way I am. This is the way this is the way I'm going to date. This is the way I'm going to do my finances. This is the way I'm going to do all of my relationships. This is the marriage I'm destined to have. I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. And we begin to believe lies that the enemy sells us, because the enemy knows if we believe those, we aren't going to shine as bright. We're not going to be as impactful in our areas in life if we remain chained by a little stake in the ground. And it could be from the littlest things. Like next week, we're going to talk about the idea that, have you ever done something you're like, oh, that's just like my mom or my dad, and oh, I don't want to be that, and why do I struggle with the anger that my parents had, or why am I insecure like my parents were, or why do I struggle with depression like my parents and anxiety? We're going to talk about that, and the Bible has a lot to talk about. The authors in the Bible talk about that, generational things, and we're going to talk about breaking some of those things, and how do you do that? That's next week. I'm super amped about it. I have a lot to say about it because I got a set of parents and I love them dearly, but there are some qualities I'm like, why do I have those? Why did you pass that down to me? And it's just an eye-opening deal, and there's a way to be set free. So we're going to talk about that next week. And it's been feeling like a little, as a young person, we buy into some of these things that are just not truth. As a former youth pastor, what breaks my heart, what really just, honestly, it just takes the breath out of me, is when you or you're talking to somebody, it doesn't matter their age, and they don't see the potential they have that you see in them. They're like, you are so great, you can sing, or you're so good at going to school, you need it, or whatever it is. Like, just people are good at things, and they're like, I'm not. Or I'm not very pretty, or whatever those insecurities. And it's just like, oh my gosh, the enemy sold you a lie that you got a hold of at a young age. And the enemy is so good. And maybe some of you are like, I don't think that there's a devil running around. I think that's just to scare me. Man, here's the deal. Here at Unlock Church, we believe all of the Bible. And I'm going to point to my iPad because my Bible's on my iPad, okay? But the authors in the Bible document words of Jesus. And Jesus talks about there's an enemy looking to destroy us. Because if we take a step back and don't shine as bright, then we aren't giving permission around us to go after Jesus. Because sometimes we make being a follower of Jesus look like really bad. Like, why do I want to be a follower of Jesus if you're always depressed? Or why, I thought Jesus was hope. And he is. And man, when we step into that truth, it breaks the chains that have chained us down on the ground as a little person that we bought in. My hope is today, what Western culture has poured into us, and maybe your parents have poured into you, or your grandparents poured into you, that success looks this way. I hope we break it. I hope we we are set free. And I was thinking about when I was studying for it, I was thinking about this dog that we got. His name was Rocky. He was a stray dog. He showed up in the backyard one day. I grew up where we had 15 acres of land, so just animals all over the place, okay? Like, my closest neighbor was a horse barn, and I worked in the horse barn. In the night or in the evenings, they had just wild horses that they would just turn to pasture, and that's the rest of their life. They live in the woods. I'm the guy that would just be walking through the woods with no shoes on and just shorts and no shirt, and I'd see a horse, I'd jump on their back, hold on to their mane, and we'd just ride through the woods. That was just me, little Mowgli with blonde hair. Okay, that was me. Like, literally, it was like when turkeys come flying through, I'm the guy running through the woods thinking I can capture a turkey. I'd get him stuck up in a tree, and I would climb up the tree to try to catch him. I have no idea what I would do if I actually caught a turkey, but somewhere in my mind thought I could catch a turkey. Okay, that was just me. I was wired like that. And one afternoon, a dog came and was sitting on the back porch, and my mom, she loves animals, but she's like, that dog doesn't look healthy. He looks really mangy. Stay inside. And I'm the only boy in the house, and I just know how to work my mom a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. You all know how to do that. You know how to press the buttons, and who needs to ask what in your house. Like, in our house, the kids know what topic they need. If they want desserts, they go talk to Holly because Holly likes sweets. They know they come to me on desserts. I'm like, no, I don't like sweets. So for me, it's like, no, you don't need that. Go run. And so they don't ask me about sweets. They have who they ask, and you know it. You know it, right? You know which parent to ask for what. And so I was just like, Mom, come on. He's not going to bite me, and if I get rabies, it'll be a great story. I remember I was like, I'm in second grade saying these things to my mom. It's something that it's a principle I believe in. Some of those things are just great stories. Think about it. Me without stories and teaching moments, right? We think it would be really boring around here. I have so many stories because I'm the guy going, it'll be okay, but if it's not, it'll be a good story. Any recording? Anybody got to get, come on. So I go outside and, my mom's like, okay, just open palm so he doesn't bite you. And I go up there and I catch on real quick. He's just a puppy. And so I go out there and I give him my arm and he bites on it. And I'm like, oh, Mom. And she comes out. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I just messed with Mom. That was me. That was the first interaction with this dog that we adopt, and we end up naming him Rocky. But he came to us as a puppy. And my mom's like, oh, this has got to be somebody's dog. And so he hung around that day. I went to school, and he was sitting on the deck when I came back. I was like, oh, man, I'm going to get a dog because we didn't have I want a big dog. We had a little miniature schnauzer. Like, those are like, parents buy those dogs. Kids don't, okay? Kids want big dogs that they can lay on and wrestle with. At least boys do, I think. Little miniature schnauzers are not what most boys want. And so I was like, this dog's big. He's already bigger than Muffin. Come on, Muffin, miniature schnauzer. Seriously, right? Okay, you're getting it. Okay, that dog was Mom's dog, and I was like, I want my own dog. And so he stayed, and I came home and I'm playing with him, and then I was rubbing his neck, and he whimpered. I was like, oh, and I dug through, and he had been shot with what looked like BB guns or pellets were in his neck. And I was like, Mom, you don't believe this. He's got BB in his neck. And she's like, well, we got to get those out. I was like, yeah, let's get some tweezers. And so we just immediately started pulling out. I think he had 3 right in his neck. I go, I don't think this is somebody's puppy. I think where we lived, a lot of people just dropped off cats and dogs all the time because they're like, oh, this is the woods. They'll go live. They'll make their own wolf pack or something. I don't know. And so we adopted him. But my mom's like, okay, but we're going to do this. We can't just let him run around. So we got to chain him up. I go, Mom, this guy's a free dog. He doesn't want to be chained down. She said, we got to chain him. That's the responsible thing to do. So we get a chain, and we put it around a tree. We leave, and we come home, and he's greeting me at the bus stop. I'm like, ha! And he's got part of the chain with him. So I was like, okay. He broke the chain, okay? He did what we're trying to suggest that we do with things of our past and all these things that we're talking about in the series. And so my mom's like, we got to get a bigger chain. And so we got a bigger chain, and then we got a doghouse, and we put him out there. And the next day, bigger chain, bigger doghouse. And he brought the doghouse to the bus stop, okay? He just drug the thing. The dog was just like, what? Keep trying, folks, okay? And so then my mom was like, we got to chain the dog to the doghouse and the doghouse to a tree. And that's what we did. And so then over several weeks now, he figures out how to I don't know how he did it, but he got the chain off the tree. And he brought the doghouse and the chain to, my dog was just relentless. And what I love about that dog is the relentless spirit that he had was like, you can't hold me down. I have a goal. I have something I want to be there when my buddy Scott gets off the bus. I got to be there for him. Like, he's just like the best. Like, isn't that what you want, right? You watch movies, right? I'm a sucker for dog movies, right? And so anyone drops them like, kids, there's a new dog movie. You want to watch it? You're like, yeah. Like at Christmas time, one of the first movies we watch is like Beethoven's Christmas, right? It's like, come on. Who doesn't love that? And so I was like, this dog is amazing. And he had an amazing ability to be relentless. Like he chewed his doghouse up to get the chain off one time. He just eventually, no more chains. He was free. And he never ran away. He lived in our backyard. He died with us at a ripe old age of like 18 years old. And never again after that first couple weeks was he chained again. He was set free. And my hope in this series over the next few weeks is that some of you experience being set free. And why do I want to start with success? Because I think a lot of times we're trying to achieve something that we were never designed to go after. That we're chasing things that are not healthy for us, and the epidemic of depression and the mental illnesses of anxiety and all of those things, yes, they are real, but man, we've got to start figuring out where it's coming from. Like right now, the generation of middle schoolers coming up, they have a different label, but like the doctors and stuff are labeling them the anxiety generation. That this is the largest amount of young people that are being put on medication for anxiety and then depression. Like, I don't think And I'm not a doctor, but when I look at it, I go, there's got to be something bigger going on. And what's the problem to it? And why are we just dealing with symptoms? A lot of times as people, we deal with symptoms and not the root of the problem. We got to deal with the root of the problem. So I'm always trying to figure out, what does Jesus have to say on topics? And what's the root? Not what is the symptom of I want to know what the problem is. And so today when we talk about success, we are told that Western culture, at least success is about fame, money, followers on Instagram, big house. It is, and it's fed to us. And sometimes it's fed to us like people just like will throw things on you that we pick up. Like, okay, I got 8 kids, and we live in a relatively small house for 8 children. They all sleep in one bedroom, and somebody will always tell us, oh, you need to get a bigger house. And sometimes I hear it, and I lean in and go, man, I must be a bad dad. Gosh, I probably should do that. But to do that would mean I would have to sacrifice some other things in my life, bigger debt, make my wife go crazy because she got more rooms to clean and stuff, and just like, and all of a sudden just the thought of it, and you go down and you just start getting stressed out, and it's like you got to remind yourself, no, that's not Jesus telling you to get a new place. That's you buying into that you need it because it makes you look better. Now you're keeping up with the Joneses. If you have 8 kids, you need to do a certain something to keep up this level of appearance. Isn't that what Western culture is mostly about, is appearance? And I'm all about looking your best. I think you should do that. But I'm not talking about going out and going into debt to do that or things. I think you need to be in the house that you can afford. I'm not saying that, hey, if you have a bedroom for every child, please don't read into that. Sometimes people do that. Like, well, no, I'm doing what Jesus is saying to me to do. He's going to require you to do something else. It's way different for all of us. But what happens is that we get attaching to ourselves what Western culture says success looks like. I mean, think about it. When if you're in your 20s and you're single, there's plenty of single people in here, and I have conversations with a few of them here, and they're like, I think I should be further along in my life. I should be married by now. I'm like, who's telling you that? Well, just like my friends are, or if you're newlywed, like, hey, all my friends are having babies, so, man, I just feel this pressure. I was like, but if that's not Jesus saying that to you, then don't make a baby, okay? Like, don't. Okay, that's simple. Like, if Jesus isn't saying it's time to get married, then don't get married, right? It's like being a follower of Jesus is to allow Jesus to be the Lord of your life, allowing him to give you direction, not going, I need to look successful, so I need to be promoted in this job. I need to be parenting this way. It's asking yourself, what does Jesus have to say and said matters in your life? And here's how you know that Jesus is speaking to you on something. You feel a tension in an area of your life. We say it often here, pay attention to the tension. Like strings pulled tight, rubber bands, like pay attention when you feel this, oh my gosh, it's going to snap. Because that's where Jesus is trying to say, I want to talk to you about that. So it could be finances. It could be about where you live. It could be the job you have, and you're like, I can't explain it, but I feel a tension. It could be the relationships you're in, and you feel like, okay, Jesus is saying, stop doing relationships like that. And you're like, but I feel that, well, how do I do that? Well, it comes down to who are you listening to? Because if you're listening to Western culture or you're getting your information based on social media posts, then you're going to be fed a different, maybe not all the time, depends before, but you're typically going to get fed different results that you'd be chasing than what Jesus has to say on said topic. If we are looking to be successful on social media or in the world, it's different than what Jesus says success is. Think about it. I'm speaking very broadly of what Western culture says, but for the most part, it's about stuff, and it's about money, and it's about popularity and big houses and lots of cars and boats and cabins, and none of those are bad. Please don't walk out of here and say, our pastor says you can't have a boat. And I have a boat, okay? I like boats. I like to fish, okay? I have one wheels. This isn't about it's just don't take it to the extreme. This has got to be for you to go, okay, that's my aha moment. This is what Jesus is saying to me. But let's take the Western culture definition of success, and now let's look at Jesus through that lens. Would Jesus be considered successful then? No. I'll answer it for you because you're like, what's the right answer if I say it wrong? No, he wouldn't be. Okay, think about it. For 3 years, he builds a team of Only 12 like really key people. Only 12 we know about. There's handfuls more, but we got 12 on paper saying there's 12 disciples, many more, but 12 of them. Okay, that's a little lean, a little small to start a movement, don't you think? Like based on all the leadership books I got, they talk about, oh, you need this amount of hundreds of people to do this and that. And you're like, okay, so Jesus, oh, yeah, you only got 12. When it all hit the fan, when it got bad, the 12, they disappear, right? They're like, whoop, out. All right. No, I don't know Jesus at all. That guy, who's that? He's a crazy guy. I don't know him at all. That seems like failure. That like at his worst moment, he was left alone, except for John. John hung around a little bit. Then he dies. Boy, you just stop there. Well, that was just failure. Now he comes back, and it's like, okay, there's a little bit bright spot. But you still only have 12 people to start this movement. But if you know anything about Jesus in that story, we are here today because of that. So there is success. But it's Jesus' success because it's not, you don't get it on paper, oh, there's thousands and thousands of people every day. You just don't have the numbers, whereas Western culture is driven by numbers. When we were starting the church almost 5 years ago, this September will be 5 years for Unlocked Church. When we started it, we started with 0, and everybody told us it's impossible to start a church with 0 people. Like, you need people. I was like, I'm aware. Okay, I'm aware. Thank you. Right from the get-go, it's like you're not successful. 5 years, then you should be at this mark, or 3 years, you should be doing this. And it's not looking at what we should be doing. We should just be doing what God's called us to do right now and let that growth piece up to him and not me. I need to be faithful in doing what he's asked me to do. Same with you. You need to be just faithful doing what he's asked you to do today, and he'll take care of tomorrow. But we want to take care of tomorrow. We want the directions to the complete project. We want it all laid out so we know where God's going to take us. And God's like, no. I'll give you A. You take step A, then I'll give you step B. But we're not going to B until we get to A. So some of you know what the first step is that you need to do in some relationship issues or financial issues that you have or work-related things. You know what first step is, and you're not making that. So then you're in a holding pattern until you take step A. One thing I've learned about God in my life is that he just waits for you. He's like, I'm going to wait. And he waits for a long time. And then when you take the step, he's like, okay, about time. Here's the next step. I'm like, wait, I just took a step. He's like, no, we're going to keep going. Now, Jesus tells parables in the Bible. They're made-up stories to illustrate a point. We're going to read one today that gets us kicked off in the right direction, and then we got a few other points. But I hope you hear the parable. The idea with the parable, every time you read it, if you're new to being a follower of Jesus or you don't have a Bible, you can download them for free. Just get the Bible app. It's great. You can get daily reading plans. There's plans on there to help you face depression, anxiety. It's so good. Download the Bible app. It's just great to have it with you all the time. But when you bump into a parable, you need to ask these 2 questions every time. It doesn't change. It's always the same. Every time it's a parable, and most of the authors say this is a parable. Jesus told a parable, made up story. Ask these 2 things. Where are you in the story, and where is the kingdom of heaven? Because those 2 things are always in the parable. Jesus is always speaking to you and me in the parable, and he is also saying this is what the kingdom of heaven is like. So that gives you a little bit understanding when you're reading in the New Testament where it's talking about Jesus' life and come to a parable, ask those questions. I'm going to read this, and as I read it, you need to find you in it. Not where your husband sits in it or your grandma or your mom or your dad or co-worker. No, this is you. Where are you in the story, and where's the kingdom of heaven in? And so the parable is found in Luke chapter 12. Now, Luke was a doctor. When you read through the book of Luke, he tells a lot of the miracles because he was a doctor. He can look at things and go, that guy just got healed. There was no medication. I don't even know how that happened. So he records a lot more of those miracle moments because he just can't explain it. Jesus did that. Jesus healed that person that was sick. Jesus did bring that person back to life. I can't explain it, but he did. And there are eyewitness accounts to these stories. These aren't made up. These are eyewitness people there. And then there are other people that have come back and said, no, that is true. Luke says, it's not just my story. I interviewed a bunch of people there. So I got the perspective of not just me standing next to Jesus when he said, Lazarus, come back to life. I asked the mom over there that was just her jaw hit the ground. I asked her, hey, what do you think I have? And I don't know. She's like, he was dead. He came out and he didn't even smell. It's crazy. I don't know. It's just, and so he interviewed those people, puts it all in here, and so here we jump in where Jesus is having a conversation with quite a bit of people in Luke chapter 12. So somebody in the crowd said to him, this is just somebody throwing out a question to Jesus, teacher, this is not made up yet. This is real life, okay? Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. So dude's got a problem with a sibling. They won't give him his cut of the pie. And so he comes to Jesus. Jesus, help settle this, okay? Now, I love Jesus' response. He goes, man, who appointed me judge or arbiter between you? So he's got to be a little irritated. He's like, bro, why am I getting in the middle of your mess? Because Jesus has already talked about how to handle these things. He's like, ask yourself, what does love require you to do? And you'll know what the right thing to do is. And if I'm that man sitting in there, the love will require sometimes to not put up a fight. And if the other person's being really dodgy about the situation, sometimes Jesus says, hey, it'll all work itself out in the end. Just back up. Don't take a fight to it. Don't get mean to the other person. What does love require you to do? Jesus already said that. So he's like, why are you asking me to step into this? I already told you what you should do. Then he said to them, watch out, be on guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Those are Jesus' words. That's an aha moment. That looks at success from Western culture's idea and says, here we go. Life does not consist in an abundance of possession. It's not about getting a bunch of stuff. I'm one of those guys, like, this is a new principle for myself, but when I read things like that, I'm okay. If I'm not careful, I'm going to have a closet full of clothes because I just am a hoarder. Well, I might need that. If we ever have an 80s day at camp, I'm going to need that leather coat. Or if we ever have whatever, I need to save that, right? I don't know if you're like that. And it's like, and all of a sudden, it's like, why am I holding on to a coat that's like 20 years old? It's like gray Halloween costume, and it's just sitting in there, and I'm like, oh, man, somebody else. And it's like, so I just developed a principle. Get something new, give something away. Get a new shirt, give a shirt away. Don't fill my closet full. Because what happens for me, I'm like, okay, if I just fill my closet full of clothes saying my future me might need that, I'm saying, God, I'll take care of myself in the future, not relying on God. And so I'm like, okay, God, you provided the shirt today. I believe you'll provide the shirt tomorrow, and I can give this to somebody else that can't afford their shirt. Or I can just hook them up and love them on a little bit. So as I get a new pair of shoes, give a shoe pair away. So I'm not filling my closet up. And it's a little bit harder on the shoe thing because I really like me some shoes. So Jesus is still working on that, okay? Okay, just had to get that one out there. Some of you looking at my shoes going, uh-huh. Okay, so the man, Jesus says, life doesn't consist about abundance of possessions. And then it says he told them this parable, made-up story. Here's the made-up story in Luke chapter 12, verse 16. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundance of harvest. He thought to himself, what should I do? I have no place to store my crops. So he got heaps of crops, more than he's ever had before. He's like, what do I do with this? There's a lot coming in. Maybe you've ever had that in your life. All of a sudden, you got a lot coming in. Like somebody hooked you up with a car when you already had 2 cars. And you're like, oh, man, a 3rd car. What do I do with this? I got to find a place to park it. Or you got new clothes. You're like, what am I going to do with this? You just got a lot of stuff coming in. And you're like, whoa, what am I going to do with this? And look at what this guy does. These are Jesus trying to teach a principle here. He thought to himself, what should I do? I have no place to store this. And then he said, this is what I will do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones. And there I will store my surplus grain. I don't have enough to store it, so I'll just tear down what I have that are already full. I'll build a bigger one so I can have more storage. More just sitting there, doing nothing for maybe the future version of me. Then I'm going to be really successful. Then, man, people will look at me and go, wow, you got a lot. And you start to feel good and confident about yourself because look at what I have done. And it's this story of this guy creating this. I wonder if I watched a movie the other day. It's called The Kid. What's his name? Bruce Willis. Thank you. Bruce Willis is in it. It's really funny. I had never seen it before. I watched it with the kids, and I'm like lasered in. I'm laughing. I'm like, this is so great. The whole premise of the movie is Bruce Willis is a 41-year-old guy, and his 8-year-old self shows up. And he's like out of the blue, like, it's make-believe, okay? So, like, what? Make-believe 8-year-old version. It's like I turned 42 on Tuesday. It's like me having my 8-year-old self show up today and looking at my life going, what would your 8-year-old self look at your life right now? Would they go, wow, we really are. We did it. Woo! We did a lot of cool stuff. Because the 8-year-old self of you is not about stuff. It's about relationships. It's about seeing the world. It's about, like, I want to be, the 8-year-old version of myself probably would be a little disappointing because at 8 years old, I wanted to play for the St. Louis Cardinals, and I didn't make that, okay? So he might be a little disappointed. But I do think the 8-year-old version of me would be pretty amped because I have a black lab. And from 8 years old, I wanted a black lab, okay? And my mom never hooked me up. I had Rocky, good dog, but he wasn't a black lab. And so I got one. So I think the 8-year-old self of me going, whew, we did really good. And we're married. Woo! Probably didn't see the 8 kids coming, but but hey, we're married. This is good. Like, life's great. That's about all that an 8-year-old's going to think is really good, right? But somewhere at 40 years old, we start going, I should be further along in my life. I remember at 30 years old, I bring Legend home for the first time. I'm the brand new dad, and I'm bringing him home. And I lived in Holly's parents' garage. Like, literally, our front door was the garage. It opened up, you went in, and you closed the garage. Woo! I was amped. I was like, I got a roof over my head. But you know what? Western culture looks at that going, you brought your newborn baby home in a garage. Yep, I did. That's where we lived. I mean, we had TV in there. We had the bed, and it was just fun. We look back at it and laugh at it. But if we're not careful, we would be depressed in those seasons because it's like, I'm not what I pictured. When God's saying, I got a different picture than you, and I'm trying to build that, and if we live the right that go after the things God's called us, I'm not saying life won't be hard at times, but somehow or another you can find a smile in those moments. I mean, we have heaps of pictures where we're holding Legend inside the garage like, oh, yeah, we have a newborn baby in the garage. Yeah, doesn't everybody? I mean, yeah, because of my success is not, I'm trying to rewrite what I think is successful. To me, like the ultimate thing in my life, honestly, comes out of Acts chapter 13, verse 22, where God says this, and he says it only about one person in the entire Bible, about King David. I found David, a son of Jesse. He's a man after my own heart. He'll do everything I ask him to do. That's all I want God to say about me. That's it. I want him to say that I'm a man after his own heart, and that Scott will do everything I've asked him to do. Is that not a tremendous thing for God to say about you? That's the goal. And so sometimes I've had to give up things that I absolutely thought I needed. And God's like, no, I got better for you, but I can't give you better until you let go of this because somebody else needs that. Somebody else needs what you got. You're not the owner of it. I just needed you to manage it for a season till you met them to give it to them. I know that one day my Jeep that I like, I'm going to give that thing away. My one wheels. I know at one point in my life I'm going to give those away. I won't sell them. I'll give them away. I'm a manager of my things, and they're not mine. I'm just managing them because here's the deal. And the parable will even get you to the whole point why I live the way I do. In verse 16, then he told, verse 19. And I'll say to myself, after he builds the new holding chambers for his corn, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry. So he's like, I've arrived. I've got it made. I have enough to do whatever I want. But God said to him, you fool. And this is Jesus telling a made-up story, and right there the people are offended. Wait, God just called somebody a fool? And here's why. God is not calling him a fool like we would call somebody, you're an idiot, or you're dumb. He's not being like that. It's an illustration of like disapproval of what he just did. He's calling him a fool because he is rich. He's not calling him because he is rich, but because he was confused. He thought it was all usable and consumable income. It's the consumption. We just assume that it's for us to consume. And not assuming, okay, who can I give this away to? How can I help that person? That's where we talk about see a need, meet a need. And I know you're like, but you say that all the time. Do you do it all the time? Do I do it all the time? No. The other day I was on a run. It was after a garbage day, and somehow somebody's garbage blew everywhere, and I ran past it. I probably got a good half mile away from where I saw it. I just kept feeling God saying, you should go pick that up. I'm like, I'm in a run. I don't want to do that. I'm going to get cold. It's like negative 12 out, and I'm going to be sweaty, and then I'm going to freeze, God, and then I'm going to die on the side of the road. God, I can't do that. I must stay moving. Somebody else can do that. And eventually God just tapped my heart. Stop being a lazy kid. Get back there and pick it up. And I went back there. I picked it up. Vader's looking at me. What are you doing that way, boy? Why are we stopping? Let's go. And I'm like picking it up. I'm struggling with my mittens to pick stuff up, and I'm getting cold, and I'm trying to get into people's garbage cans, and I'm picking it. It's blowing everywhere. I got to look so silly running around chasing garbage. And it was just, no one knew what I was doing. It was God nudging my heart saying, hey, you saw the garbage. No one knows I picked it up. Now you do, but the people in that neighborhood had no idea I did it. It wasn't for them. It was God saying, this is a heart check, Scott. Will you saw the need, but you chose to keep running. Now go back and meet that need. It's not a need that somebody, right, but the world needs it. I don't need the garbage running around, so I turn around and I do it. I don't get it right every time. I'm not standing there saying, guys, I got it right. I'm not. Please hear my heart. This is something I work on all the time. But boy, if we just changed that, we would stop assuming it's for me to consume. That would change this drastically, because then we will look at success very differently. It'll be about how much did I give away instead of what I got. And then Jesus goes, this is how it will be. Now, this is Jesus talking future tense, okay? This was Jesus setting up, hey, this is what it looks like in the future. Verse 12, verse 13, that very night your life will be demanded from you. And then the who will get what you have prepared for yourself. Who's the who? We don't know that. But Jesus tried to make a point. Yeah, great, you can store it all up, and you think it's yours, but when you're dead, somebody else will manage what you had and give it away. Last night, I was sitting in the hospital in Rochester. My mom had a pretty big surgery at Mayo's. And I was just sitting there, and if you were here a couple weeks ago, my dad had some severe strokes. And my mom was just talking about, I got to figure out how to sell the house. 15 acres. She's like, I can't do this. I can't take care of the land. She pulled a card from the past. She's like, you painted the room purple and yellow. I need you to come back and paint that a sellable color. I was like, what? Maybe Viking fans will buy it. It could be a selling point, Mom. But she's like, she's just like, I got to clean it out. I got to get rid of a bunch of stuff. And this is my mom talking, her hand propped up on some sling like this because she had surgery on her hand. And she's like, she's the one telling me, she's like, the things I thought were important in the house are no longer important. It's about making sure that I'm okay, that people are okay, not my stuff. Because my dad is a bit of a hoarder. There's a bunch of stuff. And my dad is at a spot, he's going to have zero say on what stays and go. The things that he's held on that he thought his treasures are going to go. And I'm going to look at it because I have no idea what it is. A lot of it is going to end up in the trash. But my dad, he could break his heart. Because to him is I'm holding on to it. But it's about people. And it's about taking these things that God's given you and you holding them like this, not with closed hands and giving them away. Success is about what you give away, even your life, that you're serving somebody else. That is what success looks like. Not when did you get married, have kids, how much money you got, what job you got, when you got promoted, when you became this or that. Those are great things. I love goals. Get after it. Be the best version of you because God called you to be the best version of you. You better be the best you at your work. Not a step behind, but the best you. That is a godly thing to do. But while you're there, you're looking for opportunities to give yourself away and give your things away. Because at the end, you don't get to take any of that with you. I think for me, the biggest shocker, if you want to know what you can pray for me about, was my sister said, hey, I need a picture of Mom. Dad he's a bit worried for her, and so I did a selfie with Mom, and I sent it. And my sister called me later. She goes, Dad doesn't know who you are. I haven't spoke to him in 2 years, and he doesn't know who I am. He knows my 3 sisters. He goes, who's that in the picture? That'll get you on it. This is about people, not about stuff. It is. It is about people. And it's those moments that remind you it's about people and not stuff. That it's about your kids and spending as much time as you can with your kids and your neighbors. That every person you come in contact with, it's a moment where God's saying, I need you to connect with them. It could be a simple smile. It could be a simple hello. But you know where this all starts? From the inside out. But Western culture is all about the outside and rarely gets to the inside. So what is it for you? What is it for you? What's the inside stuff God wants to work on you with? Jesus wraps this whole thing up in Luke chapter 12, verse 21. This is how it will be for whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God. This is how it will be. Not a scary thing like, oh wait, God's going to take my life. No, you just won't have one. That's, whoa, right? Because how many people do you know that it's about stuff and that dictates their emotions and things? It is about people. I say that all the time because, man, we face it daily that it's about things. And I like things, okay? Please don't get me wrong. I like things. But that doesn't trump people. So who are you going to listen to get your success? If you want to know, besides God, I'll give you 3 types of people you should listen to for success. Because you got so many people that are just spitting at you, hey, you got to do this to be successful. This is how you know a successful mom and all those things is this. Listen to those that love you, that believe in you, and who know more than you. Everybody else, they don't get a say. It's those that love you. Love meaning you can do wrong for them and they still love you. Those that believe in you, and when you tell them it's the craziest idea, you want to go do something, you want to go run a 100-mile race, you want to race an Ironman, and they don't go, that's foolishness. You should never do that. I don't see it. No, that's not the person you're going to listen to on said topic. You're going to find the people that go, you got that. That doesn't mean we ignore wisdom. We listen to wisdom, but you want people that believe in you got it. And then you want to listen to those that know more than you. Been there, done that. Been there, done that. Listen to those people. But first, listen to Jesus. So would you close your eyes for a second?